Let's combat and fight back with MELTREK. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.
A BB to me, a BB Fahodier. Peace to all of my thinkers, truth speakers, and truth seekers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me powerful guests, but they're no stranger to this platform. They are no stranger to the community. Peace and love to you, Dr. Tareen, right? Peace and love to you, Baba Amin. Ojuo, peace and love.
Peace and love, peace and power.
Peace and power. Look, and peace and black excellence, Baba.
Ashe.
That
real black excellence.
That real black excellence, Baba. Family, right now, take a moment out to thumb up this video. Also share this video. We want to each one teach one, right? In the 21st century, all you got to do is just hit the share button to each one teach one. Also, family, if you're watching on other platforms, subscribe to my channel. I know Baba Amin, he's live right now. Make sure that you subscribe to the Uhuru Academy. Subscribe to, let me mute somebody. Make sure, family, that you subscribe to the Uhuru Academy. Also, family, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, family, I've done a number of Truth to Power talks. I think I may be at 100. I'm not sure, but I know if I'm not at 100, I'm almost there. There are a number of shows that I've done, family, and I've created a playlist on my channel. I've brought on the greats. I brought on the Baba Amins and the Dr. Wrights. I brought on Dr. Malefe Asante, Professor James Small, Dr. Kaba, Baba Imhotep. You name them, I brought them on, family. So make sure that you go and you check out those discussions in the archive. Also, family, we're getting ready to start the Read Book Club back up. So we will be going live on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll let you know exactly when we're going to start it back up. But I'm thinking within the next month, we will be starting the book club up. The next book that we are reading is going to be called Slavery by Another Name, which it does a deep dive into the Jim Crow era. So family, make sure that you grab the book. You're not grabbing it in vain because we will be going through that book. Ashe. All right, family. So right now, family, we're going to first of all pay homage to Dr. Khalid Muhammad and then also Baba Sekou Odinga. As many of you already know, Dr. Khalid Muhammad's birthday is today, and we know that's a warrior. He was a warrior for our people and still is in that ancestral realm. And so then we also have Baba Sekou Odinga. Dr. Wright brought that to my attention when I was on the phone with her earlier. She said, Doc, did you hear about it? And I was like, no. And she's like, yeah, I didn't know, Baba. I was on the phone with Dr. Wright, and she was like, did you know? And I was like, no. And then she had to refresh my memory. She was like, do you remember who that brother is? And so I just wanted to take a moment out just to acknowledge those two warriors. Baba Amin and Dr. Wright, do you all have anything to say about Dr. Khalid Muhammad, about Baba Sekou Odinga? You have the floor.
All right. Okay, thank you, Doctor. Definitely, when it comes to Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, I'm forever grateful for being exposed to him, being exposed to his teachings. Matter of fact, being from Fort Worth, I left college and went home to save the black race. And there wasn't many black organizations in Fort Worth that went harder than the Nation of Islam. And my first introduction to Black Power was through the Nation of Islam. And I remember being invited to study group. Shout out to Brother Dane and Brother Will X. This had to be about 1991 or 92. And invited the study group, and they sat me down. They gave me, they recruiting, right? So they sat me down. They gave me a beautiful sister bring me a red snapper fish sandwich, and I'm looking at this pretty sister. I ain't no girl can not wear makeup and still be cute, And I'm looking at this sandwich and ready to eat. And then I look up at the TV, and they put on Dr. Khalid Muhammad, the goddamn white man.
Oh, I remember that lecture, Baba.
You remember that lecture?
Yeah, I
And
remember that
he
lecture.
got that all white on, and I had never seen any black man like this before in my life. I hadn't seen black people like this before in my life. And I mean, he came out there in all white, and he started breaking it down and saying, you know, I'm not being vulgar. I'm saying the goddamn white man. As a spiritual man, I believe God has condemned the white man because of what he's done to us. And so he broke this whole thing down, and oh man, he starts all the names of God, you know, Nakumpo. In one part of Africa, we call him Ashango. Another part of Africa, we call him Umkulunkulu. I'm like, what is this, right? And I'm like, it wasn't no turning back. It wasn't no turning back after that point. And just a powerful spirit, a powerful energy who I'm sure touched many people that he didn't get to meet personally. I did get a chance to shake his hand, but I didn't get an opportunity to really know him. I know people who know him, and when I say Dr. Khaled had a powerful influence over my generation when we were young brothers, young street scholars in the streets trying to figure things out. Yeah, he was our OG. We love Minister Farrakhan, but for those of us who was from the hood and like really in the streets and trying to organize down there, Dr. Khaled was our man. Dr. Khaled was one of our leaders, and that's who we look to, you know. And so I'm forever grateful to have been able to live and be influenced by a man like Dr. Khaled Abdul Muhammad.
Ashe. Dr. Wright, do you want to touch on Dr. Khalid Muhammad, or you want to go to Baba Sekou Odinga?
Well, I'll touch on Khalid Muhammad. I too learned of Dr. Khalid Muhammad in college, but I was at Tuskegee. And, you know, back then we had the VHS videos. So the videos would make their way down a little Tuskegee.
Yes.
And we would get a chance to watch him lecture. And yes, he was on fire, you know, and what else is there to say? You know, he would ignite something in you. So I recall that fondly. And then, of course, when I came back to New York, because I'm from New York, you know, then of course I had the chance to, you know, see him speak more often. But he was, you know, he was for the ages. I mean, he represented us, and I think he spoke to young people at that time where some did not necessarily appeal to young people. I think it was a revisiting of someone who could ignite that in young people. So, but and then Brother Sekou Odinga, I did know. I did not know Khalid Muhammad personally, but I did know Brother Sekou Odinga. Did have the opportunity to work with him at WBAI 99 FM in New York, Pacifica National. And I used to produce, I don't know what just happened to my voice, but I used to produce for a couple of shows on BAI, Afrobeat Radio, which is how I met him. I was producing a show on, well, we were petitioning for pardons for some of our political prisoners. And I had decided that, you know, for whatever it was worth, I would do a petition or at least initiate the conversation for us to petition Obama for some of our political prisoners to be released as he went out of office and he would have the opportunity to pardon people. As you all know, one of the things that's a big deal in the United States is that this country says that it has no political prisoners, and that is not true. So to acknowledge our political prisoners is to acknowledge that we, in fact, have fought a war here, and we are consistently engaged in the Black freedom struggle above and below ground. And, you know, Sekou Odinga is one of our above ground fighters, giving us one of the biggest victories we've had in the struggle, which is the liberation of Assata Shakur. I guess now we can say who, because both our ancestors now, Mutulu Shakur, who I did not know, and Sekou Odinga, liberated her. As one reporter on the news said, she was rescued, and she was. And so I had a chance. He was a gracious person, kind person, gentle person. He wonderful, just a wonderful freedom fighter, committed to our people, even in the last few years that he had free from behind the wall, and always willing to give instruction and lend himself. He didn't just come out and fade into the background. He was still in the community doing work and all of that. So another side of it, I've had him in my classroom. I guess I could say now, because I'm not at that institution. Well, I'm not at that campus anymore, but I had him as a guest in my classroom, and the students were just in awe of him. I think, there was a commentary. I'm wrapping up, but there was a commentary that was going on around the same time, because he actually was in my classroom in the fall of 2019, months before the pandemic began. And there would be a conversation about how, young people were saying, I'm not my ancestors. I'm going to fight back. I'll, give you the business. And my question, some elders who are, I'm not an elder yet. I'm like in between. But
same here. But all three of us, we in the middle. We in the middle right now.
Some elders came out and said, that's so disrespectful. And I said, well, listen, what are you teaching our young people anyway? Right? Why are you only teaching them about when we sing and, march and all of that? If that's all you're teaching them, then you have not armed them with the information and told them of our great revolutionaries and freedom fighters who are still on this earth. You're not supporting those people.
That's right.
Who are still on this earth. You're not bringing them onto your campuses to engage and show them that there are other ways to struggle, to wage struggle, and that it is our right to do so. You're not doing that. So if you want to call these young people disrespectful, you must call yourself a coward.
Come on. But Dr.
There he is. And so I had brought Brother Sekou to one of my classes. He happened to be on campus for another event. And I was like, come on, I'm teaching. I got a class till 8 p.m., 9 maybe. And he graced us with his presence, blessed us with his knowledge. And, we got a chance to really delve into his experience, not just the liberation of Assata Shakur, but the fact that he was in the international section. He's a founding member of the international section of the Black Panther Party in Algeria. That is something to be talked about. There was a chasm in the Black Panther Party, and he was in that faction that connected with the African world and engaged in internationalism. And that's very important to know about him, not just that one dimension of or that one action that we know that he is known and notable for, So I'm happy to have known him, to have lived in his time and met him, and I'll be forever grateful and better for it.
No, Ashe. And I wanted to say while you were talking, when you said that, and I agree 1,000% with you. You can't call them disrespectful. Like you said, if you call them disrespectful, then you got to call us disrespectful for not teaching them. And I was getting ready to interject and say, but not at the Uhuru Academy. See, at the Uhuru Academy, they learned that history at the Uhuru Academy.
Right.
And that's why we had to support institutions like the Uhuru Academy. Family, I'm going to drop the Uhuru Academy link in the chat, and I'll let Baba talk to you more about it towards the end of the discussion. But I want to drop that in the chat right now, family. Head on over to uhuruacademy.com. Get your child enrolled in this institution today. Because see, Dr. Wright, at that institution, they learn Black history. At that institution, Baba spent an entire week showing them the American Maroon documentary and breaking it down to the students. Jalen came on. He said, I saw you in the documentary today. And I said, you saw the documentary before me? I said, how did you see it? He said, Baba showed it to the school. I said, oh man, you know, they did an entire, I know Baba tagged me in something before they went on, I would say Kwanzaa vacation, not Christmas vacation, but Kwanzaa vacation.
Yes.
It
That's
was,
right.
you all did something on George Jackson, Baba.
Yes.
You
Yes,
tagged me in it.
our whole theme, our theme this fall semester in our African history course was the Black Power movement.
Okay.
And so, you know, so we're doing, you know, from Malcolm, the Malcolm X Society, Organization of Afro-American Unity, you know, the Republic of New Africa, Black Panther Party, Self-Defense, Black Liberation Army, but teaching it from the perspective that these are freedom fighters.
That's
You
right.
know, these are free, that they wanted the same thing that some of the ones that you do learn about wanted, but they didn't want to do it compromising. They didn't want to wait. They didn't want to partner with the enemy to bring about freedom. And these were young people. And that's what we really want to stress. These were young people who went up against the most powerful government on the planet on our behalf. We shouldn't forget them.
Not at all. Not at all. And I want to share my experience and how I got introduced to Dr. Khalid Muhammad, peace be upon his soul. May the ancestors be pleased with his work. We know that they were pleased with his work. But I got introduced to his work because around 1996, there was a brother who gave me the book From the Browder File, and reading that book, and I wanted to learn more about our history. And so I was instructed to go to a place, I call it the Kemet of Consciousness, which is everyone's place. And Baba, when you and Mama and Koyo and the babies came down here to Baltimore, I took you right on over to everyone's place. And I believe you met the owner or one of the owners right there, Baba Nati and them. Absolutely. And so someone instructed me to go there to get more books. And at that particular time, Baba Nati and Mama Tabia, they used to have an area upstairs where they keep all of the books. And there was an area where you can like pop a DVD in, and no, it wasn't DVD, it was VHS. You could pop a VHS in and you could watch tapes, right? And so I went upstairs, and it just so happened that someone recorded Dr. Khalid Muhammad on the Donahue show, and it was playing while I was shopping. You know, I was shopping, I was getting my books, and I hear this brother talking and kicking knowledge. So I go to the area and I sit down, I pull up a chair, and I was just mesmerized. I was so drawn in by his intellect, by his passion, and by his humor. He was a very funny guy. And so I said, well, let me get a copy of that, Baba. Let me get a copy of that. So I got a copy of the VHS tape, because you know, back in the day, you could record, you know, TV shows and stuff on your VHS. So I said, let me get a copy of that VHS tape. And then he also had the lecture, The Goddamn White Man. Then he had another lecture that he sold me where he talked about, it was centered around the white woman. And you know what I'm talking about.
I
He
know
said the
exactly.
white woman. Yeah, you already. I'd be going in the morgue and they were like, a pink slip. But anyway, so it was about white women. And so after that, that's when I fell in love with him. And I watched some of his lectures to this day, like his historic lecture at Kent College. That's on the internet, and I've watched that. And so he woke up a lot of people. He was a warrior, and long live the spirit of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Now, Dr. Sekou and Baba Sekou Odinga, I didn't know much about him outside of him rescuing Queen Mother Assata Shakur. So I didn't know much about him. I did read up on him once Dr. Wright told me that he passed, and I was informed that he was a part of the Black Liberation Army. He, like you said, he was a Black Panther Party member. He's a part of the Black Liberation Army. That he did free Assata Shakur, and that he spent like 33 years, I think, in prison. They say he spent decades in prison, and for, you know, his connection to rescuing Queen Mother Assata Shakur. And so that is the extent that I knew about his work. But what I want to say about him is that was enormous bravery. That took bravery, enormous bravery, to go in and rescue her from the belly of the beast. She was behind a G wall, and them brothers went in and got her out. You know what I mean? Like that speaks to his courageous, like his carriage. It speaks to it. And so again, may peace be upon his soul, and may his heart be as light as the feather of Ma'at Ashe. Family, make sure that you take a moment out to thumb up this video. Thumb it up. Also share it. Let's get some more bodies in these virtual seats. So let's share it. If you're on Facebook, post the link. If you're on Twitter, tweet the link. If you're on IG, put it in your story that Dr. Maat, Baba Amin, and Dr. Wright are live, and we're getting ready to go in, family. And you see the topic, the new Black excellence in state of higher education. Now, let me share with you, and let me show you an article that prompted me to have this conversation.
Right.
So on IG, and people know I'm frequently on IG. So I'm on IG and I'm scrolling through my feed, and someone took a screenshot of this Forbes article, right, entitled "Claudine Gay Resigns from Harvard: Why Black Excellence is Never Enough." And so I started scrolling the article. And the author, and I want to find the line, but I'll probably have to pass the mic. Here it is. Here it is. No amount of wealth, achievements, accolades, or notoriety will offer safety and protection in an anti-Black world. Black excellence will never be enough. It is an insatiable chasm that tricks us into believing that all a Black person needs to do to be excellent to transcend oppressive systems and structure. But if the stories of Claudine Gay, Kataja Brown Jackson, and Nicole Hannah Jones can teach us anything, it is that it doesn't matter how much you know, how much you've achieved, and how far you've come. Being excellent for Black folks, and especially a Black woman, will not shield you from harm. So this is what it says at the end of the article. But look at how Black excellence is being defined. And that's what got me, Baba, and Dr. Wright. So Black excellence was defined in terms of wealth. It was defined in terms of your accolades, so your degrees, the organizations that, the institutions that you are affiliated with, or the organizations that you are a part of, right? So the notoriety, fame, right? And I said, this is really the new Black excellence in 2023 to a lot of people. That's what they think. If you're wealthy, if you have a couple of dollars, if you're driving a certain car, if you're living in a certain neighborhood, if you're working for a certain corporation, if you're affiliated with certain organizations, that is Black excellence. If you have a certain educational level, a certain type of degree, that now is the new Black excellence, which is actually putting us behind. Because back in the day, Black excellence was measured in terms of our liberation, as me and you talked about, Dr. Wright, earlier, in terms of our liberation and independence. That was Black excellence, behaviors that propelled us towards liberation and independence. But now, when we think of Black excellence, or the vast majority of us think of Black excellence, they think of wealth, your car, right? Your social economic status, your educational level. And that is not Black excellence. So I said, I wanted to have a discussion, and I brought on two of the brightest minds that I know to help me unpack this whole idea of the new Black excellence, the definition of the new Black excellence, and how it is impacting us as a collective. Baba, Dr. Wright, you have the floor.
Go ahead, Dr. Wright.
Well, and thank you for sending me this article, Dr. Maat, because I noticed that they also noted Nicole Hannah Jones, who did the 1619 project, and how, in spite of such a phenomenal chronicle of our arrival and struggle in the United States as African people, she did not get tenure at University of North Carolina, right? They denied it to her. But that being said, you're right. Black excellence now is not your intellectual or your character or your integrity or your ability. It is about the superficial aspects that they have allowed us to have that are impressive to the eye and are not substance, right? And one would have to ask how they got those things. But we have a tradition that we should invoke, and that goes back to the continent of Africa and our home, where excellence was about character.
Come on,
right?
teach.
Upright, right? The African personality and being upright and principled. And so I think, here in this place, the blue flame, as I like to call it, the hottest point of the struggle, as it relates to white supremacy and culture, yes, the superficial aspects of what it means to be successful are promoted.
Mm.
I think that also how much you are utilized and willing to be utilized is also. So, in other words,
Mm.
you in service, because there is a strong conversation about this, those in service to our people are not deemed successful uh, models, uh, and or excellent per se, right? You coming with that old stuff like, everybody's over, we're in a post-racial
Right.
reality or whatever the case may be. uh, and so excellence for the establishment, when they are calling our people excellent, very often is those who turn their back on us, who serve the status quo, who are owned by the establishment. I just have to be honest. you know um and that's to the contrary. So it's very unfortunate, but I do think that Dr. Gay in particular had to know
Mm.
that uh, her presence was to serve an agenda, and especially the timing of her presence as president of Harvard University. Okay. And when it did not serve them any longer, then yeah, she would
Mm.
end up being the shortest tenure of any Harvard
Mm.
University
In
president.
history.
No surprises here.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Baba, Baba, what are your thoughts, Baba, on this
Mm.
new black, the concept of the new black excellence?
Well, this new black excellence gets upset when Dr. Claudine Gay resigns, and they write an article that say why black excellence is never enough. Old black excellence, true black excellence, writes an article when she gets hired by Harvard and says why black excellence will never be for us.
Mm. Come on,
Okay,
Baba. Come on, Baba. Oh.
that's right.
The
Mm.
issue for me
Mm.
is that
Mm,
excellence is excellence, but who are you being excellent for?
that's right.
Dr. Gay did everything right. I mean, everything right. My bad, Freudian slip. But she did everything right
Right.
and was still the last one hired and the first one fired.
Mm.
Still wrong
Still dealing with
for
racial
them.
animus
Yeah.
because we've defined excellence as being included. We've defined excellence as being accepted and to be able to offer a little something to a predominantly traditionally white institution.
Right.
And when we take our excellence into these institutions, they capitalize on our excellence. But at the same time, we know that while we're in that position, we have to cut off our blackness. While we're in
Mhm.
that position, we have to talk a certain way, walk a certain way, speak a certain way. So you're shown as an example of freedom, but you ain't free at all.
Mm.
You're shown as an example of progress, but the higher you go in that institution, the less control you have over yourself culturally, spiritually, physically. And so now we're confused down here, and we're saying, that's wrong. They shouldn't have hired that. They shouldn't have fired that sister. That sister shouldn't have been there.
Come on, Baba. Come on, Baba.
Black excellence is when black excellence serves black people.
That's right. That's what I know.
Sekou Odinga was black excellence. He was
That's right.
intelligent enough to do anything else. He could have sold insurance. But he chose to fight for the liberation of his people in the unpopular way
Hmm.
and stuck with it. That's black excellence.
Yes.
She did everything that you're supposed to. I think she even married white
Mm.
and got in there and was the fall person, behind Israel. And she lost her job behind Israel and Palestine.
Okay.
Okay. She lost her job behind students protesting. She lost her job because she didn't write an infraction.
Mm.
No, you're not safe. The deeper you gonna segue into the Hollywood thing, the deeper you go into these certain industries, the less safe you are as a black person and subsequently as black people, because while you're in there, you're advertising that same pipeline to us. So now our children are dreaming of following that same path that got you depressed.
Right.
Why black excellence would never be for us? That's the question. When are our best and brightest gonna serve our people, our community, our institutions?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Baba. It's like, to me, and I said this on IG earlier when I went live, I said, to me, the new black excellence is black subservience. That's how I view it. The new black excellence is black
It
subservience. And
must
I, and
be.
I said that,
Uh-huh.
it's black subservience. It's nothing excellent about it. It's just subservience. The new black excellence is our ability to elevate in white spaces, not for us to create and nurture and protect our own spaces. The new black excellence is assimilating, right? The new black excellence is getting into their spaces, assimilating and elevating in their spaces. And that's what people view as the new black excellence and this definition. So I want to kind of segue into black Hollywood. And so a lot of things, I mean, and you see, so a lot of things are coming out, and people are saying this is the year of exposure, the year of the truth. Everything is coming out. Everything that was hidden is coming out. But I was embarrassed at a lot of the nonsense that was coming out. You know, I do appreciate and applaud people for speaking their truth and being honest with what's happening behind closed doors and letting society know. But at the same time, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to hear that there were black men touching their ankles to get roles, to get roles in films, and hearing black actresses Taraji crying about they not paying me what I'm worth. They listen to that. They aren't paying me what I'm worth. They are doing this and they are doing that. And I said, God dang it. I'm looking at people. It's not a shot at Taraji. I'm talking about a number of people right now. These stars, they have millions of followers on social media. They have voices, they have platforms, they have influence, but they're still looking to them. And see, that's what black excellence, this new black excellence does. We still look to them for validation. We still want to get on their award shows. We still seek a Grammy from them, an Oscar from them, any type of validation from them. That is the new black excellence.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing when I'm looking and they're not paying they're not paying. Why would you expect them to pay you what you're worth? Why would you expect that? And why not all of the black actresses or actresses and actors in Hollywood say, let's get together. You know what? We're not getting it from here. Let's create our own brand, right? Our own movie brand or entertainment brand, and let's build that up and direct our people there. See, that's black excellence. New black excellence have us still looking to them for everything, for worth, for validation, for fame, for wealth, for work, and so anyway, I had to throw it. I had to bring that up. We don't need to go through Diddy and Cassie and and everybody getting outed and all of that. Tyler Perry, Robert Jones. But what I'm saying is that these are people who are clearly operating with that definition, and so they're trying to get notoriety by any means necessary, wealth by any means necessary, because that's black excellence.
Right, right. The new black excellence says it's better to have one entertainer worth $20 million than to have 100 entertainers worth $2 million.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's better to have one or two on quote unquote on top, and than to have a nice circular entertainment industry that feeds itself, feeds the community, feeds each other, and makes sure that everybody eats.
Right.
That's real.
But we've confused black presence for black progress, right? Okay. Our presence, our mere presence is not enough. Dr. Maat and I talked about this before. Our presence is not enough, and we've settled for our presence, and we think it's symbolic of progress. I think that, well, one, it rings of the sort of Du Boisian kind of ideation, but also, two, the condition of black presence is that you will not serve. your own people. We saw that in the glaring way with Obama. I'll say it over and over and over again, right? He comes in with understanding without exception the condition that he must not even look our way
Right.
Mm.
legislatively. And as far as politicians are concerned, there's only one way to look anybody's way, that is through the pen, through legislation,
Legislation.
period. Right? So if you do not legislate on our behalf, you have not looked our way. You don't even see us. We are invisible to you. And so we saw that on a large scale, to the degree that he made it clear coming into the office he will not entertain, even have a conversation about what? Reparations.
Right.
Okay? No conversation. So,
Right.
that in and of itself, we saw that at the highest level. Black presence doesn't mean Black progress. And we need to interrogate things a little bit more, meaning
Absolutely.
that uh, Blackness, being Black, in the cultural sense, it's not just about showing up with melanin.
Right.
It's about values and principles. Who are we? Who are
Mm.
we? Right? And what does that mean? Because as I said I have a classmate who had, well, I won't say had the nerve, but in his line of thinking, he said to me, "Don't we all want the same thing?" I said, "No, we
Right.
don't all want the same thing. Some of us want to be brown white people, and brown white people will create the same oppressive society as the people who are calling themselves white now."
Facts.
So, who are we in values and principles, right? And when we define things like Black excellence, that calls us to revisit that. Who are we in values and principles? Would we do the worst things? Would we do, as one of my friends said, "Well, can't we be American too?" I said, "Okay, you can be American. You're free to be American. But what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? To build this franchise, you had to be a murderer, a rapist, and a thief.
Teach.
All of those things. And
Teach.
do you want to be that? Are you willing to do that? You know what I'm saying? So it always begs the question, who are we? Who are we?
I say.
And when we define Black excellence, we should be qualifying that with, is this good, as Dr. Marimbani talked about, is this good for African people?
Yeah.
What are you doing for us? And many folks have an aversion to that.
Yeah.
There are whole people who raise their children not to serve us. I know it. I've seen it. I've had those conversations,
Mm.
right? And then there's the rest of us who understand that you must do something for our people.
That's right.
You must.
Absolutely.
You must.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've gotten confused. We confuse
Yes,
in include. Well, we thought integration was bringing inclusion. Integration brought invisibility.
that's right.
Ooh.
We gave up everything we
Yeah.
had as far as
Yeah.
that's concerned.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And Obama played on that. We're invisible now. If I acknowledge Black people, then that's taking us backwards.
Right.
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 Right,
That's
Baba.
taking us backwards. And it just I'll just pass this law for all Americans, and because you're now invisible, you're just an American. You can't complain.
Mm.
Facts, Baba.
Right. And
Facts.
so they're teaching that type of confusion. That type of confusion that says, doing something for self, building for self, dedicating your talent to the upliftment of your community is somehow futile, somehow less than, somehow falling short. That whole, parents walk around bragging, "My baby go to the University of Texas at Austin." You know how many murderers and rapists and killers of Black people have graduated from the University of
Come on,
Texas
teach.
at
Teach,
Austin? What
Baba.
you bragging about?
Teach, Baba.
What are you bragging about? One of the best young old slave masters of our time, Nick Saban, just retired from the University of Alabama. One of the greatest exploiters of Black talent in the modern day era.
Mhm.
And people are saying, like, why would you send your baby to a university that got Alabama on it if it ain't a HBCU in Alabama? Why would you send your child to help the University of Alabama make millions of dollars? Blow up your baby's knees and send him right back to the block
Mm.
without a degree.
Mm. Mm.
And we call it Black excellence. We have to
Wow.
take a long, hard look in the mirror. We could get better consequences if we have a better mentality. Everybody making money off of Black youth coming in forward. If
Facts.
they fail, they monetize the failure. When they succeed, they colonize the success.
Mm. Yeah.
Facts.
We're
Facts.
too talented to not benefit off of our own talent, off of our own. We're too talented to be in the condition that we're in.
Right. Right.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Bob, I want to segue into this right here. I woke up this morning. Shout out to one of my colleagues, Dr. James Holly Jr. He sent me this article. I think he sent it maybe like at 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning. As soon as I rolled over, I read his text message and he's like, Doc, did you see this? With exclamation points. So I was like, I need to read this. So I clicked on the article and and it said Lincoln University community calls for president's termination amid Dr. Barney Bailey's passing. Her first name is actually Antoinette, Dr. Antoinette Bailey. So she was the VP, I believe, of student affairs. And they are calling for the president to resign because this woman, it didn't say explicitly, but they said that she was stigmatized because she was battling something and she was stigmatized. And because of that, she was bullied, she was harassed, and she ended up unaliving herself and left a letter. And so they're calling for the president to get fired. They're calling for him they calling for him to get terminated. And so it's this is a Black woman who, we're talking about Baba, who's done everything right. She did everything she was supposed to do and elevated to the position of vice president and unalived herself. And so if anyone looked at her on paper, they would say this is Black excellence.
Right.
But she got in that space and she unalived herself, and she specifically named the president in her letter and said bullying and harassing. And I just want to add that the president is a white guy. And so I was shocked, when I found out that the president of Lincoln was white. And I said, wait a minute, is this an HBCU, right? Because when we think of HBCUs, Bible, we tend to think of our spaces. Black people feel like HBCUs belong to us, right? Historically, Black colleges and universities, these are our institutions. So if that's the case, I could not wrap my mind around why Lincoln University has a white person as the sitting president. And it was brought to my attention, Dr. Wright told me, that there's also, I believe, a white guy who's the dean, the chair of the Africana Studies Department. Baba, did you just hear that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Pan-African Studies. Yeah.
Say it again, Dr. Wright. He's
history, philosophy, and Pan-African Studies, I believe it is.
Yeah, I heard that's been going. I heard that's been kind of like a thing on a few campuses now. Go get the white professor for the Africana Studies. But yeah,
right, for Africana Studies,
or others, right? Others, yeah.
Right.
Asian, brown Asians, and stuff like that. So that's a big thing. But you would never see it the other way around, certainly.
No, not at all. Not at all. You would never, like you said, see it the other way around. You would never see it. Only at our institutions. But when I spoke to you on the phone, Dr. Wright, you said, well, it does kind of make sense. And you went into the history of Lincoln University. Could you break that down for the listening audience?
Yes. So Lincoln University, and I probably should look up the year it was founded. But Lincoln University was founded by white people for Black males. In particular, shortly after enslavement. And so it was an all-male institution for most of its early history. And then it does become co-ed later on. And I believe culturally, I don't wanna butcher the history, but fact, white founders.
Absolutely.
White founders built it, created it for a Black population. So that also lets you know certain things, right? So it's not about what we want or what we need or how we structure it to serve us. It is what they believe is appropriate for us, what they believe it should be for us, right? So it is, in fact, a white institution for Black people, right? So the founders are white people. And you have a lot of so-called HBCUs that fall into that category, right?
Mm, mm.
You have Hampton with Armstrong. You have, I believe, Howard is like that.
Yeah, Howard. Yeah.
Fisk is another one, and Fisk goes way into the struggle because it's in the 1960s where they still have a white president, and there's some clashes because there's a pushback with regard to those things. But these are institutions that are founded by white people for Black people. Okay, and I guess some people may find that paternalistic. So they're going to parent us and decide what is appropriate for us as we come transition out of slavery and Reconstruction. And then there's a whole group. There's about 19 schools that are land grant institutions that fall under the separate that the equal protection under the law, the 14th Amendment, right? So how it works historically is that because uh, they did not want to integrate their university of right their university, so the University of North Carolina, the University of uh, Alabama, as you stated, the University of any given place, South Carolina, whatever their universities were for those states, they did not want to integrate them. So into equal protection under the law required that state to create a separate institution, right, under the Plessy Doctrine, and provide opportunity for education for the Black population. So then you have about 19 land grant institutions emerging around the 1890s. And so there's a whole list of those land grant institutions. Those are the Florida A&M universities. Let me see. I could run some of them off. But there's okay. So there's Alabama A&M, Alcorn State, Central State University, Delaware State, Florida A&M, Fort Valley State, Kentucky State. So this is an easy way to figure it out. The University of is always going to be a white institution. State University is going to be a PBI, predominantly Black institution that is normally going to be land grant. It falls in this category and is part of the equal protection under the law for Black people. So I could go on. Lincoln falls under this, although they have a very small founding, and there's a specific history with them.
Right.
Kentucky
Lincoln's
State,
unique.
right? Yes, it is very unique. Langston University, North Carolina, A&T State University, Prairie View, A&M University, South Carolina State, Tennessee State, what Southern, all of those fall under those land grant institutions. And let me just say something, because I saw on one of these things that they had it wrong. They put Tuskegee in there. No, Tuskegee is not a land grant institution. They had Tuskegee falls into the same category as like a Bethune-Cookman,
Hmm.
right? Small individual, small community founding, um, coming out of the community, Black leadership, Black church, sort of kind of thing, collaborative. Don't get me wrong, there was a initial grant for Tuskegee specifically, but then we had a very progressive founder who told the state of Alabama, take your money and I will do better. In
Mm.
1893, right? And so Tuskegee um, becomes what they call a very unique classification, quasi-private. Private, but state affiliated when it needs to be, which was
Ah.
definitely a mark of someone like Booker T. Washington, who could, had a history of playing these dancing with the government.
No, understood. Completely understood. But what are your thoughts on what happened with VP Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Bailey. What are your thoughts when you hear this? Again, this is the new Black excellence, right? So you made it, you elevated, and at this HBCU underneath this white president, and unalives yourself because of bullying and harassment due to something she shared, and then she was stigmatized, something along those lines. But what are your thoughts about what happened with VP Bonnie Bailey?
You're asking me, right? Okay.
Yeah, both of you. Like, what
Oh,
do you?
okay.
Yeah.
You wanna?
Yeah, sure. It's it was shocking, and it's significant because this is the oldest HBCU in America. Lincoln University is HBCU number one, founded in 1854. And the irony in that you would have a beautiful, natural, intelligently educated Black woman to dealing with some trauma, as so many of us are, bullied and harassed at the world's oldest HBC, the country's oldest HBCU, by white leadership, to the point where she acknowledged, she informed him that there was a problem, and it was ignored. She informed others that there was a problem, board of trustees that there was a problem, and it was ignored or pushed to the back burner. Now she's done this. She's taken herself to the ancestor realm,
Mm,
and now the school is scrambling to do PR control. The students are standing up now like he has to go. So there must be something to the bullying. When you're talking about dealing with bullying, you're dealing with culture.
Oh
You're
yeah.
dealing with cultural issues. You're dealing with an issue of not acknowledging, somebody else's trauma, maybe based on your own experience, or that shouldn't bother you, or something like that. And we've lost, as a community, we've lost some excellence as a result of this. Who are we being excellent for?
mm,
Are they taking good care of our Black excellence? Is the Black excellence being treated fairly? Is the Black excellence given safe spaces to be excellent? Obviously not. And for it to happen at the country's first, Kwame Nkrumah graduated from Lincoln University. Langston Hughes graduated from Lincoln University. Thurgood Marshall graduated from Lincoln University. So how does, in 2024, we have a Lincoln University that has leadership that's insensitive to the needs of a Black woman? I just find that to be telling as to where we are mentally when it comes to progress, when it comes to institution building, and when it comes to serving our community and what we call Black excellence.
Yes.
Powerful.
I agree. But let me say this: I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that it led to the outcome that it did. But I'm not surprised at all. I think that, and maybe not any more than any other industry, but I believe that academia is particularly hostile to Black women,
Oh, absolutely.
particularly hostile.
Absolutely.
So there's a extra layer for us, whether people want to admit it or not. And so you're Black and you're a woman,
Come on.
and we like to deny, the depth of chauvinism and misogyny in these places that's coupled with racism. I just
Yes.
finished giving somebody an example privately about how I was in a situation where I had both issues, meaning I had, a racist institution on one side, and then I had, the very nuanced but overt um, negation from Black people on the other side in an academic situation. Very, very hostile. I can, off the top of my head, just if I were going to disclose, at least five Black women who are in some intense situations um, have been violated,
Oh,
have
yeah.
been
Oh,
disrespected,
yes.
even physically, and 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 the institutions utilizing other Black people, particularly Black men, to do all kinds of things. I wish I could say just harass them, but no. If they wanted to assault them, they could get away with it, and they have. So my point is that
Mm.
uh, many of these institutions send a very clear message to you at some point or another that we've got two, three, or more reasons not to respect your humanity,
Mm.
presence, your intellectual contribution, all of that. And they do communicate it. And even when they have a Black woman
Come
at
on.
the helm of it, I know one particular instance, they are very pointed in letting you know that they represent the institution and they do not connect or represent you. And so it's a very, academia is a very hostile place. Okay. Is very hostile environment, and even more so for a Black woman. It is one of the few places, I will say this, and I know some people might push back on it, but I could bring evidence to show this. It is one of the few places that Black men are actually that get to advance uh, beyond Black women. In other industries, sometimes you understand
It's the
they'll
other way. Yeah, it's the other way around.
are a threat. They're still, but in academia, uh, Black men, if they are credentialed and have a little are progressive in a certain kind of way, um, or diligent, they can advance rather quickly ahead of women, and that's pretty much the rule, not the exception.
Mm.
That being said, is a consistent hostility. So I'm not surprised, and then you factor into the landscape that there are white individuals who are still administrators in leadership and employees. So she is getting both sides against the middle there. I'm not surprised
Yeah.
that she felt cornered. I am surprised culturally that that was her exit. She should have,
I
you know,
said, I
Yeah,
said,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to, double down on what you said, Dr. Wright. It is a very hostile environment
yeah,
for a Black woman. I mean, I've shared with you personally things that I've
yeah,
gone through,
yeah.
at my institution,
mm,
from administration, down to the students, Black women. And I remember when I first started at my institution, I was pulled aside by a female faculty member who actually just resigned. She
Mhm,
literally just resigned, and she was a full professor, by the way. And for
mhm,
anyone who doesn't know what a full professor is, when you enter a university, right, you have various positions, right? You could come in as an adjunct faculty member, meaning that you teach a class, maybe one class per semester. You may teach multiple classes, right? But you're not there full time. So you have adjunct, or you can come in as a full time lecturer where you are there. You have a minimum of 12 credits there, so you're there full time. Then from full time lecturer, then you have tenure track. A tenure track position is literally you're on track to becoming a tenure faculty, right? And so you come in as what they call an assistant professor. Then once you're tenured, you become an associate professor, and once you are an associate professor, you can apply to become what they call a full professor. And so she was a full professor, Dr. Wright. I just want to drive this home. And
mhm,
she pulled little old me aside almost 6 years ago, and she was just like, look, welcome aboard. But she said, watch your back. She said, and stand your ground. And she
mm,
said, make sure that they call you doctor. And I
mhm,
said, what do you mean make sure they call me doctor? And she said, oh, she said, because what they do, and not, she wasn't talking about the administration. She was talking about the faculty, specifically Black male faculty. And that's the population that we have, not Black male faculty, Black male students. So it wasn't the faculty, it wasn't administration, but she was talking about students,
mhm,
specifically Black male students. And she said, they will not call you doctor. She said, they will call you miss. They will
mhm,
call you Mrs. They will
mhm,
mm,
call you everything but doctor or professor so and so. But then the males who don't have their doctorate, they will give them that respect. Oh, this Dr. So-and-so. And you're like, he's not even a doctor. You know what I mean? And she told me that. And I heard her, Dr. Wright and Baba, but it's nothing like experiencing it. Like I heard what she was telling me, because she was at the institution for 23 years. Yes. And at that time that I entered, she already had 17 years in, And so I heard what she said. Yeah, so I heard what she said, and I was like, oh, okay, and that was that. And then I got in it. And I saw it for myself, I witnessed it for myself. And so, they don't call you doctor. You're Black female. No, I call you miss. I don't have to respect your title, So you go through that. Your male counterparts are making more money than you, So you look at, there's a huge, disparity between, salaries of Black female faculty versus Black male faculty. In fact, there are several institutions who now have lawsuits. Black women are slapping lawsuits and going after these institutions, because if you look at it, you see, the gross disparity between salaries of Black women and salaries of Black men at these institutions. And as you stated, Dr. Wright, they advance further and faster than black women. And so when I saw this, I was like, daggone, this was a sister that she just got fed up. The pressure. I've even had female faculty tell me there was one who became chair at our institution. And, she said once she became chair, she was made sexual advances by other brothers in powerful positions, other deans and presidents and vice p. They were trying to have sex with the lady. And she's like, dang, I just got in this chair position and now I have all these sexual events. So this is what Black women go through in these institutions, but no one talks about that.
Oh, no.
And so when I saw this happen to this sister, I just, my heart ached for her, because I could only imagine what she went through at this university, So again, I share your sentiments, Dr. Wright. I wasn't surprised at all. Wow. I wasn't surprised at this incident. I think it's sad that she unalived herself, and my heart goes out to her, her family, and everybody that's connected to the situation. But when I saw the article and I read it, I wasn't surprised at all. I wasn't surprised at all, given how hostile academia is towards Black women. And that's what we go through in the academy that no one talks about.
That's what we have to eliminate.
Yes.
That aspect of that culture we have to eliminate. We got to, it to me, it's a direct reflection of what's going on in the entertainment industry.
That's right. That's right,
Baba. It's a direct parallel. So this is a cultural issue, man. This is a direct parallel of who's running both industries. What predominant culture is running both industries, and we're emulating, we're assimilating into that culture. And now we're acting out. And I think Black excellence want to be set free. I think that I hope this is the year of information. So Black excellence coming up will look and say, I don't want to go there. Oh, if that's what you got to do to be worth Steve Harvey. I don't want to be Steve Harvey. Okay, I don't want to be that. I can be something else. We can be something different, something better.
I do want to say this one thing, because it's something I don't say enough, and it's something that I have thought and realized and understood and know through my own experiences. But I think something we don't talk about is the fact that people misconstrue sexual overtures and propositioning as something a woman should be flattered by. And then there's the other layer where there's full out sexual harassment. And then, of course, if you rebuff, you get targeted, abused, professionally maligned, all of that. What the perpetrators, and I don't know that they would care anyway, don't understand is that sexual assault and abuse and sexual harassment goes all the way back to the legacy of slavery. It is rooted in it for us as Black. And so when we have Black men in particular who engage in this in the workplace, it drags us. That's the feature of white supremacy and culture that touched Black women in a particular way, because they were forced to bear children from people who had assaulted them violently and all of that. What they don't understand is that So we can't just focus on race. Um, for us, the sexual assault, and harassment is a feature of our oppression as we
Right.
experienced it as African women in this country. When you do that to us in this day and age, you are dragging us back in time, literally. Okay. And it's something that, I almost haven't met one sister who hasn't had to deal with that.
I
Okay?
haven't met one either, Dr. Wright.
It's
I haven't met
sad.
one either.
And when the perpetrator is black,
Mm,
black women are such loyal, faithful soldiers in the struggle.
Right.
Okay.
You're right.
So her loyalty to the struggle buys many people cover in secrecy, right? And they shouldn't be covered. They shouldn't be protected. And it's unfortunate. But what I've started doing is having the right kind of conversations, which is that it's not the telling of this behavior that is the problem. It's the doing. Okay? When you do this, you have betrayed us as a people. When you
Period.
violate sisters in these spaces, you have betrayed us as a people. We don't owe you anything. Okay? We don't owe you protection or anything of the sort. Okay? And so, because I know legions of black women who have suffered all kinds of things
mm,
in the workplace, particularly in academia, and they have protected these men who
mm.
are black like them, because these women are what I would call race soldiers, unfortunately, okay, to their own
To
detriment,
their own detriment.
right? Be that for our people. Don't be that for people who are violating us. You betray us when you do what the oppressive class has done to
I
us.
say we need to get these
So we
sisters
got
something
to
out of the
change
call.
how we look at this. I said this even
Mm,
when the R. Kelly thing was going on. I said, see, this is so crazy that in our community we fail to make this critique. All
mhm.
of these victims are black women. Is that race is all over this case? You mean to tell me R. Kelly couldn't assault his white assistant? But you knew that that one white woman would have put you under the jail.
So you
So you
didn't do it.
refrained as you could, okay? You refrained, but for you, nothing is sacred with us. It wasn't a coincidence that all the victims were black women, right? So race was all he knew to move precisely that way. And this is how it goes down in academia, in these spaces, in our community. I think 2024 needs to be the time and the space where we take back our communities and make our communities the safest place for us black
I
women,
say
the keepers of the culture, and the sustainers of African people. Whether people like it or not, we don't like it that we're the ones in mass and forced to sustain when there's no one else to sustain our communities. Listen, this is not going to our communities wherever we go, because our communities wherever we are, right? It's not going to be this. These are not going to be the most dangerous places for us. We've got to wage struggle in
mm,
house in order to make our
mhm.
own spaces safe
That's
for
right.
us and our children. It has to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to close out with speaking about the Uhuru Academy and speaking about your book, Doc. But I do want to play a quick clip. This is like a 1 minute clip of my boy, and this is my guy, brother
Mhm.
Phil Scott. I'm a fan of his work.
Like
I
yeah,
watch his African
I met him.
diaspora channel. I watch his Phil Scott channel, and then he has another channel called the Black Congregation. And so he put up a video about he posted a video about Dr. Claudine Gay being forced to resign from Harvard. And at the end of the video, he said this, and I wanted to shoot a message to my guy. This is what he said at the end of the video.
Hi, Mark Barden. It's Sandy
Oh,
Hook Thomas here.
this is a
Ladies
commercial.
and gentlemen,
Yeah, here we go.
So the right has been celebrating.
That's not it. Let me stop sharing. I just had it. What happened? Just that fast. I had Phil up there.
You had
You wasn't
you
doing
had
that
Phil
from the
up there.
beginning. Yeah, you had Phil up there.
Yeah. Is that okay? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, I got it now. And I'm like, what just happened? It went to commercial and then, okay, so this is my guy, Phil. And I shout out to Phil Scott. I'm actually going to reach out to him tomorrow, but I want to send a message, guys, to him. Check this out.
About this, and all of them so was the right response. But these PWIs, these Ivy Leagues, they bow to their donors. That's what they do. Now, if the Black community is talking about this, and all of them so upset about this happening to her, well, why don't y'all in the HBCU give up position? Why don't y'all, Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, just to name a few, why don't y'all give her a position matching her pay that she had at Harvard?
Right.
See, the Black community don't know how to play the game and even wage war. Because yes, it was a lot of racism in that. We all know that. They just used that situation to get her out. But if the Black community was really serious about combating anti-Black racism, you would have created a position for her at an HBCU, gave her the exact same money she was getting over there, and say, hey, she is the creative director of this, or she's the new president of Spelman or Clark Atlanta or whatever, right? And she get paid the same amount of money, and she would really be talking at that point, right? And that would make them so upset. But see, we sit up here, let some of our best and brightest get attacked by these people. That's why I don't believe our best and brightest going to know PWIs. These people.
Now I want to stop right there, and I'll take him off the screen. Mm-hmm. I hear what he's saying. We can't do it. She makes $1 million a year. Okay. I think Morgan's president may make $200,000-300,000 a year. We at HBCUs, and I hear what Phil is saying. If we were so enraged, let's bring her over here. Let's put them. But this would be great if HBCUs were our institutions, if we did own and control our HBCUs, if we did have the funding to do that. We don't. Do you think that Spelman will put their endowments and the money that they're getting on the line for Dr. Claudine Gay? No, they don't have any power. I'm sorry. Like, I just want to tell the truth. They don't. They don't. We don't own and control these. Like you said, the state university. So where are you getting your funding from? You're getting your funding from the state, right? So let's be real about this. So when I watched it, I said, oh, Phil, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think you quite know what's going on in HBCUs. She probably would have had it worse. First of all, she ain't gonna make $1 million a year. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. She come over to Coppin, and it's no dig, but I'm just saying, she come over to Coppin, right, Morgan, or Howard, or Spelman, right, or Morehouse. She ain't making no $1 million right, a year. And I believe that that's what she's making at Harvard. I believe I saw that that's her salary. It was $1 million or close to $1 million a year. She's not going to get that. So when he said, well, bring her to the HBCUs and pay her the same way, HBCUs can't afford to do it. We got buildings falling apart. We have students complaining about mold in their dormitories, showers not working, mice infested dormitories. I'm talking about, this is HBCUs. This is, you hear these complaints across the board. So no one can afford to bring Dr. Gay there and pay and create a position and pay her $1 million. So this was only, so when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's my guy. But I disagree. HBCUs can't afford it, and none of them are going to risk. None of them want that heat. None of them want that heat that she caught. None of them. Why do you think about it, Doc? How many HBCU presidents said anything? How many HBCU presidents rallied behind Dr. Claudine Gay? How many, I'm talking about publicly, and said, what you all are doing to her is wrong. It's an assault. It's an attack. They didn't do that because they're scared too. But can we tell the truth? So when he was saying it, I hear what the charge is. He's saying, if you're so upset, bring her over there. But those HBCUs are going to stay clear of her. They don't want that heat, and they don't have the goddamn money. Dr. Wright, go ahead. I see you want to jump in.
Indeed, it would be a power move if they did. If the strongest of HBCUs did bring her there.
Absolutely.
The $1 million, No, they probably can't afford to pay her $1 million, but she can afford, since she has made $1 million, even for, whatever a fraction of whatever her contract was, she could afford to take less than $1 million, meaning that she could, meet them halfway if one institution was willing to take her on. There's if you notice, there's a lot of HBCUs that have had just this rotation of um, presidents. They come, they go. Even my, beloved Tuskegee, we're shocked. We have the same president for a lifetime, and then we've had several who have been had very short stints for one reason or another. This is like it's not the tradition. Let me say that. So my point is that the door is wide open for her to be an administrator at an HBCU. Now, is she like that? Is the question. Because is she
That's
willing
true
to do
too.
that?
Would
Is the
she would she
question.
would she
Is
take
she
that pay
willing
cut?
to come down and serve, really serve? Okay, because what she's
Right.
doing at Harvard is something very different than what she would be doing at an HBCU.
Facts.
Okay, let's tell the truth. So is she willing to serve our people after they
Gotcha.
have let her know they don't want her to serve their people anymore? So I like how he's thinking. It would definitely be a power move.
Right.
Absolutely.
Maybe she should look
Yeah.
on the international level or whatever the case may be. Maybe look
Mm.
towards Africa. There are plenty of universities there too. Who knows? But it depends on what she wants, and what she's looking for. But if you want to serve, then come on down to one of our HBCUs and build it up. And I don't know that we would get heat. I don't know that there would be heat, but I don't know how much it would matter depending on, because there's so many different types of HBCUs.
Well,
Certainly,
that's true.
yeah, so it depends, but because I don't really feel like people really agree with what happened. I think there's a small group of people who are like, get her,
Right, right, right,
okay?
right, right,
This is
right.
the opportune time, right? And a
Yeah.
white
Jump on.
university president, they what UPenn president stepped down,
She
and
sure
they were
did.
able to pressure these. So they're like, get her, okay? I don't know that the institution would suffer so much from her presence, but if she is somebody, if she's $1 million president, then she just can't come down to a HBCU and be, $100,000 or two or three or four and serve the people, which I think is not that much of a sacrifice. But yeah, what you would be doing for us, you know,
Mhm.
certainly you would be getting on the ground and serving.
Absolutely. Let me drop a bomb for these great minds on the panel. All right. So I have your websites up.
Oh,
Dr.
All right.
Wright, go ahead and tell them about your book, and I'll drop the link to purchase your book in the chat.
okay, so if you want to know more about
Yeah.
the leader of one of those HBCUs and his clandestine life and role in Africa, you got Booker T. Washington in Africa, The Making of a Pan Africanist. And it's a book where I tell the story about Washington's transformation uh, and to from someone who's not a Pan Africanist to a Pan Africanist in action. And he loved our people through action, not words. And so that's what this is. And yeah, it's in stock at the moment. The original, yeah, so it's in stock at the moment. This is the original version. This is the version to have. This is the people's version. There's another version coming soon where I get to talk to the academicians and deal with that. But this is the original version. This is the people's version, and I think you will enjoy it and be inspired by it. Right?
And family, she changed my perception on Dr. Booker T. Washington. I I honestly, I always tell you, I believe the accommodation narrative. He was accommodationist. He's getting money from white people. I was one of them pro-blacks. I don't know. I was believing everything. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
getting money from them white folks, man. He was selling us out. He was doing this and he was doing that. And then I read this book and I was like, wow, she changed my my perception of Booker T. Washington, so much so that his picture is now on my ancestor shrine.
I say
And I'm actually going to say, yeah, he's on my
powerful work.
he's
Yes.
on my ancestor shrine, and I will be taking a trip to Tuskegee. I want to go to the top of the hill. I want to go to where he's buried and where Carter G. Woodson is buried, and pour libation and just meditate there. And I actually want to go with you, Dr. Wright. So I want us to coordinate.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to Tuskegee without you. So I definitely would love us to coordinate a trip and go down there and check it out.
And I want to say, not to correct you, but George Washington Carver is also buried there.
What did I say? I thought I said Carter G.
Woodson.
Oh, I didn't mean to say Carter G. Woodson. I meant to say George Washington Carver. I didn't mean to say
Carver.
Carter G. Woodson.
So Carver and Washington are both
yes.
On the campus, buried there. There's a cemetery, a very historic cemetery, with some important people buried there, but he is buried there. But let me tell you something. That's a good mistake to make, George Washington, Carter G. Woodson. Because what did Carter G. Woodson said? Most college-educated Negroes are useless.
He did say that.
People. And so when my niece regurgitated that back to me, she said, well, what about you, Nene? And I said, I'm struggling to be something other than that. I'm struggling to be the exception. Okay.
Ashe. And shout out to Culture Bound Bookstore. Shout out to Culture Bound Bookstore. I follow this brother on IG. Beautiful bookstore. They post a lot of great books that we should have in our libraries. Make sure you follow Culture Bound Bookstore, family. He just said, this book truly made me rethink Booker T. Washington, a must read. Ashe. Baba, let me put your website up.
Right. And I just bought my copy too.
I see that. I can see that. I have it open. I can see Uhuru Academy. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. We're gonna be pulling reading comprehension passages out of it and everything. You know, I can go on my library and build reading comprehension curriculum from my great reads. And so our children are learning our story all the time. You studying nouns, you're learning our story. You studying verbs and adjectives, you're learning our story.
You know
what I'm saying? You're doing math, you're learning our story.
Learn our story. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
No. Thank you.
Institution builder for our people.
I say, in the spirit of Booker T. Washington, right? In the spirit of Booker T. Washington, and you know, even when Booker T. Washington was out there, I like to say he was finessing them folks.
Oh yeah, he was.
You know, when Booker T was finessing the white folks in the South and using their ignorance against them, right, in order to come up on land. He didn't come up on a job. He came up on land. And upon that land, he built an institution of learning for our youth and for adults that he understood would grow over time if the team stuck to the mission.
That's right.
And that's what we're building at the Uhuru Academy. We're building an institution that's going to be here 100 years from now, family, because we believe in the mission. And we're not looking for the grant. We're not looking for the handout. We're looking for the hand-ups. Right. In short, we're enrolling right now for our online private school and homeschool co-op, kindergarten through 12th grade. We're also enrolling for our Operation Reconnect program, 16 and up. If you stopped out of school, come to us, earn a high school diploma, but most importantly, develop a detailed plan for your future. We're developing uhuruacademy.org right now. That's going to be the #1 learning platform in the world for Black people when we're finished, with Uhuru University being born after that. We're working on our land grant plan. We're coming after the land. Get ready, all you Black folks, all that family land don't have nothing to do with it. We want to put a school on your land.
Let's do it.
About some of our partners, including Conscious Ingenuity, Dr. Oya Mayat, engaging our children in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. We have already hosted several successful STEM camps. We call it UAC, our STEM camp, where African culture and STEM meet, right? And our children perform better when they own what they learn. And that's what we stand on at the Uhuru Academy: liberation through African-centered, empowerment-based education. Visit uhuruacademy.com and liberate your children from the public food system.
I say, Baba. I
gotta come down and visit.
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely come through, and shout out to UASC International, located right here in Hopkins, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
4-acre campus that we call the model institution.
It is.
We're taking a photocopy of this, and we're going to build these all over the world.
You're in Geechee territory, huh?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, the family we partner with down here, they're all Gullah Geechee.
So my father's family is from Geechee territory. Wonderful.
Okay, well, you need to come on down to the
We're related, I'm sure. Family.
Yeah, so definitely come on down, come visit Doc. And thank you for the powerful work that you're doing. And Dr. Maat, thank you for the powerful work that you are doing.
I appreciate it.
You're talking about the new Black excellence, right?
Okay, is she not?
I'm gonna throw my stuff in.
I'm y'all reflection. I'm y'all reflection. I was like the two greatest minds that I know, and when I think of Black excellence, I think of you all, and I think that I'm just a reflection of you. You are a reflection of me. Ubuntu. And so I do want to thank the two of you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. I called both of you last minute. Bob, I need you. Come on, Bob. Can you come on? Got it right. I need you. Come on, go. You said, okay, come on. I give you an hour, and I kept you for almost an hour and a half. But I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate it. Family, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure that you share this discussion. Be sure to subscribe to the Uhuru Academy YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to Dr. Oya Edward Maat's YouTube channel. Be sure to support the work, family. Make sure that you get your child out of the public food system and get them into our school system, the Uhuru Academy, which is the #1 online independent school for Black children. Even my son Jalen, when he's sick, he wants to go. You know how usually a child is sick, Dr. Right? They're like, I don't want to go to school. Jalen will be sick and in the bed, like, give me my computer. I need my computer. He's like, I need my computer. I want to hop on. Jalen, but you're coughing. You kind of, you got your fever. You had like 100. You sure you got a low grade fever? I want to get on. And he'll be on lethargic, laying in the bed. He'll be laying in the bed lethargic, but he wants to get on, and he wants to see Baba. He wants to see Mama and Koyo. He wants to see the other instructors there and engage with children who come from homes and practice the same culture as him. He wants to be on there with like minds, and he loves it. And so, family, make sure that you get your child enrolled. Make sure that you support Dr. Wright's book. Grab it. Booker T. Washington in Africa. I'm telling you, it will change your perception of Booker T. Washington. And if you already know about him, you'll learn more. I guarantee you'll learn more after reading her book. Family, thank you so much for tuning in. Peace and Black excellence. And I'm not talking about that new Black excellence. I'm talking about the old Black excellence. The real Black excellence. Peace and Black excellence, family. We out of here.
Let's combat and fight back with MELTREK. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classics. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.